You are about to meet one of the most creative artists I've ever met, and probably one of the most creative you've ever met. Cynthia Rosen, welcome to day number 266.
Hi, Eric, and hi, everybody.
Hi, Cynthia. What are you going to do for us today, speaking of creative?
Okay, so I have an image here, which I'll show, and I'm going to start my typical style, staining orange, and then begin abstracting and show how to move from abstraction towards a bit more of realism, because I straddle both lines.
And you're going to paint with palette knife?
I am going to paint with palette knife. I stain my board with a nice big fat brush and go to the knife.
So just so you guys have a feel for what Cynthia does, let me just show you a little bit of her work. All palette knife paintings, very vibrant, exciting, abstracted work with a lot of color. As she says, she straddles the realism. This is a figurative piece. I've never seen one of your figurative pieces. That's nice. And a fall scene. And also, this is her video, her current video, expressive landscape painting, and she did this painting. And then she's got a brand new one coming out in January, which is a still life painting with palette knife. And so anyway, that's exciting, Cynthia. You and I met I can remember the moment I first realized meeting you. There may have been a time before, but I can remember at Fall Color Week in Maine. We're along the peninsula, the Scudic Peninsula. We're all out there painting, and it's a real chilly, foggy morning. The fog was just beautiful. And everybody else is over on the water side, and there's a bunch of cars with a bunch of painters on the water side. And here you are on the non-water side, and I see you with not two easels, but two panels, and you're painting, looking in one direction and painting that one, and looking in the other one and painting that one. And I was very curious, and so I came up and we started talking. That's the first I remember meeting you.
You can't do that on a sunny day because your colors are too different because of the light. But on a gray day, it's pretty much gray.
Why can't you do it on a sunny day?
Because your light, depending obviously on the time of day, high noon, everything's different. But your colors are very different on the east side than the west side on a sunny day.
Oh, but you could do two looking at two slightly different directions.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, I've done 3 small ones looking in a similar direction. And I ran into a bit of problem because I started to paint over here on one and then over there on the other. It was a mess.
Well, it takes a very special brain to pull something like that off. And we also had a kind of a special moment. I have photographs. I should have brought them up. Maybe I'll find them while you're doing your demo. But Gracie took some photos of us, but of you. We were at the Adirondacks in June, and painting by a waterfall, which the Hudson River School painters painted. And I wander into the woods, and there you are painting a 60, 40 by 60 or a 60 by 80, some giant painting outdoors, which I love to see. It takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, well, that painting actually started the day before in front of a tree. But the day you caught me, the wind was so high that I had to move the painting behind the tree so the tree could act as a bit of a barrier. That was me. I learned with that painting.
Yeah, a giant sail.
Right. Yeah.
It reminds me of the first time I went plein air painting. I didn't know anything about it, and I took a studio easel and a card table and a box of stuff and a great big canvas panel outdoors. And those, canvas is what they make sails out of, and that thing just went flying.
Right. Well, I've actually created my own easel. I thought of manufacturing them, but right now financially, it'd be $10,000 to do that.
I'll do it for you. All right.
My own
we'll make it happen. Okay. Cynthia Rosen is going to be right back. We're going to be excited to see some abstract painting moving towards realism, moving away from realism, and palette knife painting. So that's very exciting. So Cindy will be right back, and I'll make a couple of brief announcements so you can get set up. And you're also going to give us a studio tour, I understand.
I put my computer on a lazy Susan, so I'll do a
Okay.
slow to the studio.
All right. Terrific. Okay. Our guest today is Cynthia Rosen. You're going to really love this. My name is Eric Rhoads. I am the publisher and founder of Fine Art Connoisseur and Plein Air magazines, and head of Streamline Art, which is kind of like Disneyland for artists. We just do all kinds of things for artists. You can find us if you go to streamlinepublishing.com/everything. That's where you'll find Streamline Art. You'll find all the different things we do. We have been here now 266 days since the beginning of lockdowns. And the goal has been just to, quite frankly, be there for you. You know, I heard from somebody yesterday or the day before by email, and they told a story about how they were living alone. And, you know, here they were locked up and they were feeling cooped up. They're normally very social and able to be with other people. And they just kind of felt like this saved them. This got them through it. And that just really, you know, made me feel great that we were able to do that for somebody. Love to hear your stories if you've been watching, or if you've just recently discovered. You know, what happens is every day new people hop on, because the minute you share it or the minute you make a comment, it might help other people discover it. And we're finding people around the world tuning in. You know, we've seen probably 30, 40, 50 countries every day. And people are tuning in at, you know, 8 o'clock at night, some of them at 2 o'clock in the morning, some of them at 6 o'clock in the morning. And so it's pretty cool to see that. So we have become this big, giant family of art people, and we're just kind of learning and growing together. And what I love about this is I'm an oil painter primarily. I'm learning watercolor, but I have found that no matter who I watch, no matter what I watch, I'm learning something that applies to me, and things that I thought, you know, sometimes I get a little full of myself and think I know everything. And the reality is I don't know anything. And when I watch, you know, yesterday watching Lori Snow Hine, I saw things that it's like, nobody ever told me how to do that. So there are little things that you're going to pick up from everything that we do, both at 12 noon and also at 3 p.m. Because at 3 p.m. every day, now we're talking Eastern, 3 p.m. every day, we have a sample, usually about an hour, of one of the in-depth art instructional videos that we've created at either Streamline, Lilidol, or Creative Catalyst, our three companies that do that. And today, we're going to have the great Randy Sexton on at 3 p.m. Doing his video, Brushstrokes with Energy and Movement. And of course, we offer discounts on these videos on the day we air these. We started doing this 266 days ago with COVID. You'll get a chance to see how he does this beautiful, loose, structured painting and the thought and science behind it. And you're going to have a great time watching that today. Now, we have some prizes every day. I've been giving away prizes. Yesterday, I announced that I'm going to be giving away a Nikolai Blokhin video. I was looking for a picture of that cover. I don't have one. But anyway, Nikolai Blokhin Master Portraits DVD, or streaming if you want it, is John Romaine from Connecticut. John Romaine, congratulations and thumbs up. And my wife's from Connecticut, so we go to Connecticut. We used to go to Connecticut all the time back when we were free, back before we were locked down. Anyway, John, congrats. You're going to get a lot out of that video. I went to Russia in March to film that, and this is pretty special stuff, rare air, to be honest. And even if it's not your style, you're going to find there are things in there that inform you. This is, you know, a Russian master who is an instructor at the best art school in the world, the Repin Institute, from the Royal Academy of Russia. So pretty cool. Today's prize is going to be a digital DVD, and it is called Portraits in Conversation. It's with Rose Franson. As you probably know, maybe you don't know, excuse me. Cheers. You know, you never see anybody do that on TV. I wonder how they do it. I probably don't talk as much as me. Anyway, Cynthia, anyway, Rose Franson's video is going to be here. And Rose is one of the finest portrait painters in America, one of the most creative and different approaches. And she she wanted to do something completely different. Rose is all about experimentation, and she wanted to do something where she translated historic flat images like Egyptian hieroglyphics into what would that person look like if she created a portrait today. So she actually took flat images, found models that she felt like would feel like those flat images, and then painted both the flat image and the newer image. And she has such depth to her portraits and such form. It's absolutely incredible. And she's really, really creative, not tight at all, but yet her work looks tight. And so anyway, you're going to get a chance to win that. And I told Cynthia Rosen we were giving that away today, and she says, I want to win it. So I'm sending her one as my gift. And anyway, it's a fabulous one. And so you can win that today. And the way to do that is through the comments, right? So all you got to do is make a comment, and then we're going to grab randomly from the comments, both in the replays and otherwise, randomly grab names from the comments and award prizes. And we will love it if you say where you're from. All right. Now, coming up here in a minute, we're going to do Cynthia Rosen, but first I want to play this for you.
Have you ever wanted to learn to paint in watercolor but don't think you have the talent? Most master artists will tell you that painting is a skill anyone can learn. If you follow a process, you too can paint beautiful artwork. You could spend $3,000 or more to attend a live workshop or convention. Or you could learn from the world's finest for a fraction of the cost at Watercolor Live, the world's first virtual online art conference devoted to water media. 3 days of world-class artists demonstrating in portraiture, landscapes, still life, the human figure, cityscapes, color mixing, and more. Get to know other artists and instructors personally through our breakout sessions, and we'll even paint and draw together at the end of each day in the safety of your own home. Make new friends in our breakout sessions. Paint with hundreds of others. Get private access to our exclusive members group to become part of our community, and learn to take your artwork to a higher level. Watercolor Live, 3 full days of watercolor instruction from the world's best. January 28th to 30th. And for people who want to learn painting from scratch, start with our Beginner's Day on January 27th. Soon you'll be painting faces, people, flowers, scenery, objects, and other subjects. You'll see your artwork improve faster as you learn from top artists and instructors from all over the world. Make history as part of the world's first watercolor art conference. Sign up today and join the world as we learn art together from these amazing artists. Joseph Zbukvich, Linda Daly Baker, Jean Peterson, Mario A. Robinson, John Salmonen, Thomas W. Schaller, Suni Warren, Matthew Bird, Andy Evenson, Michael Holter, Pablo Rubin, Daniel Marshall, Lauren McCracken, Angus McEwen, Kim Minikello, Ian Stewart, Brenda Swenson, Keiko Tonabe, Stephen Zhang, Birgit O'Connor, Shuang Li, Antonio Masi, Larry Moore, Glenn Knowles, and many more to come. Why not use this time to learn a new skill so you can amaze your friends and family with your paintings? Watercolor Live, from the publishers of Plein Air Magazine and American Watercolor. Sign up by January 10th and save up to $500 off the retail price.
I'm going. How about you? That'd be a great Christmas present, by the way. I already have it, so you don't need to get it for me. But thank you for offering. It's very kind. Okay, so I just wanted to show you something else. I meant to show this yesterday, but see if I can pull this off. I don't know if I'm pulling this off. It doesn't look like it. I seem to be having my share of problems with technology lately. But okay. Well, it doesn't look like let me try this. No, that's not going to work. This is when I need my tech department. I've got all these guys over there. Okay, so it's because I got a new computer. It's not letting me in because I haven't given it permission. So anyway, I lose, you lose. we'll get it for you tomorrow. Okay, coming up. Here we go. Cynthia Rosen. Cynthia.
And I'm coming to Watercolor Live as well. That's my
Are you really?
I love watercolor. And now that, at least for plein air events, you can varnish it, not for the Watercolor Society, but yes, now that you can varnish them, I'm going to Watercolor Live.
That's interesting. So, but you're not known as a watercolorist.
No, but I did I'm not a watercolorist. But
you're about to be.
An image. Last night I gave a workshop. My demo was in pastel. And then I did a little quick palette knife one. No, the medium is just a tool.
Yeah.
It's a language. The image is what you're after.
So would you paint watercolor palette knife? For that, you might be the first in the world to do that. You could do it.
No.
It'd be really, really expensive.
Very expensive. And if you want to go that dense, you might as well go acrylic or gouache.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So Cindy, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you take over. I want to make sure I don't cut into your time.
Okay. So yes, when I saw Eric, he said, looks like your living room. Well, it is. So I've turned my house into a studio for all intents and purposes. I will show you my studio. It's a bit of a mess, but then that's just how I am. I put the computer on a Lazy Susan. I've got 2 large paintings going. Actually, one's acrylic, one's oil. And in the back, I have a moving wall. And in the way back corner, I have some kind of a shelving unit for putting large panels in.
So the moving wall is so you can display different paintings?
It's folded. And yes, I can hang paintings on it and I can divide spaces with it.
Okay.
So it's on wheels. Like everything in my house, except for the paintings hanging on the floor, is on wheels. That's what I will call Studio B. It's another room. I'm just not using it this winter because of COVID. But I figure if I give workshops or have artists come, they can work in either space. And I hang things on my wall. That's another experimental piece. So that's my workspace.
Love it.
The windows are north facing. And as you can see in the other studio, it's really light. I had to shut all the curtains for today because I would be backlit. So, if I was painting. So Here we go. This is the image I'm using. Okay. I do take liberty. It's quite monochromatic, as you can see. I take a lot of liberties. I'll explain what I'm doing, why. And here I go. This is standard for me. I stain my board orange, red, any of these warm colors, and I let it show through. So I use a brush for staining, and I use a brush, you'll see, just to note my composition. I'll move that out of the way. This would be a great painting, 6 feet large. I mean, it will come off very abstract, but the devil's in the details. It would be really cool to be able to go up and see fun little knife marks on a large painting. But to have this image, it's like walking into the woods if it was 6 feet large. So anyway, here we go. With that, I'm going to take another brush, dip it in a dark color, and say, yeah, this image is divided right down the middle. And that's really a no-no. But I'm sort of known for no-nos.
Yes, you are.
What I'm doing is coming out basically abstractly. Trees dance in my mind. I love the fact this is a very dynamic composition. There's all this plant matter down here. There's actually a walkway there. I tend to not worry about corners, though in the still life painting, whoa, there's a lot of glare hitting that now that I have wet medium on it. Sorry about that.
That's all right. We can live with it.
That would drive me nuts, but I'm sorry. Maybe I can stand in front of that light a little bit. Move it to the side. Sorry, folks.
Maybe tilt your turntable a little bit. Maybe that'll make a difference. No.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll live with it.
Okay. I'm going to move the light over and face it. It will be at least on the side.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm putting in everything I need to know. I really like, this is a very abstract composition.
Are you doing oil or acrylic?
This is oil.
All right.
I have a bunch of skinny things.
The most important question that has been asked so far is, do you use the exercise bike in the background?
Not as much as I should.
I did my workout this morning.
You know, I put it there. I actually have a television in the room, which I figured, well, if I ever want to see an image large, I could. But in all honesty, whenever I sit down, it's at my computer. So I'm going to clean up certain areas that are going to go cool. That is more of the blue tones. This is, as I said, it's a really quite monochromatic image.
Are you using it like a scraper?
This is a wedge.
Let's see it. Okay, plastic. All right.
It's a rubber.
Rubber, yeah.
In fact, I started out a few years ago trying different kinds of kitchen spatulas. Here's a hand wedge.
Yeah.
Okay. They're fabulous tools. And because I stain, I like, and I leave some of the orange in the image. So now I'm using the hand wedge. Okay. While my base is still wet, I can go into this and just pick up areas that are going to go light. You can actually make lines with the wedge. It's a very cool tool.
You can put light on a tree. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Or on a sail of a boat. Now that's going to, I don't like that, but I'll take care of that with my knife as I start to paint. So at this point, I'm going to go paint.
All right.
I mean, I know it's sort of what I'm doing. I want a little bit of light touches in here. The wedge is great for rocks. I mean, look at the nice geometric shapes you get with it. It's just a fabulous tool. So, and I bought it at the Plein Air convention. I had never seen them.
They're made by Princeton.
Yeah, I had been using kitchen spatulas, finding ones that worked well. This beats it all. Oh, another thing, definitely made by Princeton. Another thing I might as well mention is these are, I should get paid for doing it, but they're called great art gloves. You can't see. They look dirty, but they're not. They've been in the wash. They're clean, but they really are great. They keep the paint off your hands. And in the winter, I mean, I live in Vermont, so it gets really cold outside. I've painted in 15 degrees damp Vermont winter weather, not dry, but cold. And I've used these with a layer or two of nitrile over them, and it really helped to keep my fingers warm. And they're just great. So great art gloves. I recommend them.
All right.
And talking about Rose Franson, while I'm throwing in a little bit of color here, I took myself, in fact, that portrait, that was on paper, an oil on paper. I took myself to Scottsdale Artist School because I was wintering in Scottsdale for a while. And she was giving a workshop there the next day. She came into Open Studio one night, and she is one of the most dynamic people I've ever met. Just amazing and very giving. I mean, I'd recommend anybody if they could take a workshop with her. If you like what she does, do it. She's pretty amazing.
Yeah, she is amazing.
You know, she doesn't keep any secrets. Back to this geometry here. I like my trees to dance. I liked Benton's work when I first saw it, and his figures dance, and it just sort of gives a message that things are alive. Okay, I want this angle in here. That's the geometry. That's where this piece becomes so abstract. I mean, how often do you have such a strong angle and then smack in the middle of your board, which is usually a no-no, or your canvas space? So let's smudge some of this around to give me more of a mid-tone in the background. I want this all mid-tone. So I'm just going to smear the paint around, mid-tone in here. I can bleed into this patch of snow. This is not necessarily the best-selling kind of painting. You know, it's not a pretty bucolic scene. But for me, you know, it's the geometry. And people who like, I guess, non-traditional art will get it. If I were doing this 6 feet large, I could just get amazing colors into it. And it's the colors that seem to have helped me survive as a painter. People like colors. So the first glance may be either colors or geometry, depending on the piece. And then you get to explore it more. So I'm going to add a little bit of cool in here. And because my background's still so wet, I used a Gamsol Galkyd mix. Because it's still so wet, the colors are going to blend. The problem I ran into with that large painting in the Adirondacks was palette knives does leave a lot of paint on the surface. And if you're using Gamblin products, which is what I use primarily, they dry quickly. You know, I go to plein air events and have pieces in a show, and my greatest fear is that somebody's going to lean up against one of these juicy wet paintings. Really, it's like I'm petrified about that. So I always try to hang the wettest, the most recent, up high, just to help protect people's clothes. I can't remember. Oh, I think it was Bath County. Actually, they had somebody helping move paintings. And she took one of my paintings and carrying it, brought it against her chest. And it was,
no.
Yeah. So,
Right.
but yeah, the problem I ran into in the Adirondack piece, so it was a fabulous learning piece, is that I had the wrong solvent with me. I came up late from another plein air event. So, didn't think about what I was going to be doing. You know, most events you can't do large pieces. I'm looking forward to Easton because I can do a large painting there. But yeah, I had the problem going back with fighting against dried paint. I should have taken solvent-free gel with me instead.
Do you typically use that?
I typically use the Gamsol Galkyd because I want the paintings to dry fast. If it's a painting that I know is going to take days, yeah, I will take the solvent-free gel.
Okay.
And actually, a friend from out west, when I was talking about painting in the cold, and not only did my palette knife break because it was just too cold for the knife, but you know, the paint freezes up. I want to get rid of this corner. She's the one who put me on to the solvent-free gel. She said, this is good for cold weather. And it's fabulous for cold weather. It does not freeze up on you. So I know right now it's just a whole lot of marks. My interest in mark painting, I guess, came out of the fact that I went to a college that was sort of geared towards New York. I was exposed to the color field painters and really liked the sense that you could move around a painting. This one's not going to be subtle enough for you to move around and dance around. This is really going to hold you tight because of so many lines in it. But, you know, the color field painters, I mean, you can sort of just dance right through them.
You're getting lots of positive comments, Cynthia.
Well,
People watching from all over the world.
Well, thank you. It's different. But, you know, when I give workshops, as I say to people, you know, you're painting the White House, it better look like the White House. So if any of my workshop attendees are here, sorry for repeating myself, but it's true.
Well, you know, the reality is we retain about 20% of the workshops when we attend. So repetition is a beautiful thing.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we actually are developing. I can't talk much about it because it's a big secret, but we have developed a entirely new learning system based on, we've been studying learning and how people learn, and we wanted something that would allow people to actually learn things more rapidly and we figured out how to do it. So we're getting ready to launch a new learning system with a completely new enterprise. So stay tuned for that.
Interesting. Very interesting. I mean, I taught and sat on a school board for about a dozen years, actually 10 years, sorry. But back in the era where people were interested in gifted and talented, you know, I went and did some research on gifted and talented programs, you know, what children who have a great ability in one way or another, and what kind of modality you can present and help them use the best of their abilities. It was all very interesting, but I look forward to hearing about that for sure. I want to cool this down a bit. So because there's so much activity, I need to stabilize the image somehow, which means I need a horizontal line to come across at some point.
Right. Horizontal lines create peace.
Yes. And diagonal lines push your eye different places.
Create energy, yeah.
In fact, if I really wanted to use this for optimal energy, what I would have done is turn my canvas vertical, which would have been a more energetic direction for the viewer. Now I'm going to move my colors around. It's how I do, it's how I build up. I mean, this is just in the very beginning throws. At some point, you know, I'll put this on my Facebook page or my website when it's done. As you saw in my studio, I have several paintings going at once. But while this is good and wet, I will work on it some. So here I'm going to create the center tree. I have this dark line here. I will get rid of that. It's just I put my base on so quickly, but I really do want the tree in the center. I want this side to equal that side and break the rules.
There are no rules when it comes to you.
Correct.
Did you train yourself to overcome that stuff? And was it hard in the beginning, or are you just naturally that kind of person?
When I first started painting, I actually did half a dozen paintings, 5 different styles, because I had no idea of how I wanted to paint. When I was young, you know, I didn't want to go to college. I mean, I did fine in school, but I didn't like school. And I just wanted to paint. And my father, who was the first in his family to go to college, just had a fit. And I'd only applied to one college because I was so resistant to it. And I got in, it was Syracuse, but I really didn't want to go. But it all sort of resolved because my high school art teacher had his art class attendee send out these portfolios to a national scholarship competition. And so I won this free ride to college. And it's like, okay, my mother had my sister find a dorm for me to live in because the school, it was the Boston Museum School, did not have dorms. And, you know, I attended. I actually, the funny story is that I walked into drawing studio because I decided my first year was just going to be about drawing. I wanted to learn how to draw. And I'd go into a very traditional studio, and I walked into this one studio, no idea of who the teacher was, how he taught. And he is saying, well, a figure is this. So I talk about this in I have a new video coming out on a still life, but I show how simplification of shapes actually is really most of what you need to know. And especially it's why you can get away with a palette knife. I can create a rectangle with a circle on the head and it can look like a person. But anyway, I went into this studio and all he's doing is these shapes, hard geometric shapes. And this is a figure drawing studio. And it's like, I was horrified. How could he do that to the beautiful figure? You know, I thought the figure is just supposed to be this lovely, gentle thing. And I was so upset when I left that I decided to go back the next day because what was it that I wasn't getting? You know, I wanted to know what I wasn't understanding, figuring if he was teaching there, it's because he had something to offer. They wouldn't have hired this guy if he didn't know what he was doing. So it was interesting, and I learned, and in all honesty, he's the person who has the most impact on my art, because until that time, I was basically a photorealist, you know, not in the sense of the words that I painted from photos exactly like a photo, but, you know, my paintings and my drawings, actually my first year, I got offered a show at the beginning of my second year at this place called the Boston Athenaeum, a library. And it was just drawings. But if you went to the door, you would have no idea they weren't photos until you got up closer. So, yeah, I had this tendency to be super realistic. Whoops. And when I started to paint, at this point, 7 to 8 years ago, let me move this out of the way. I didn't know what I wanted to do. It had been 40 years since I had made art, except for these murals and theater sets. And so, you know, I just tried all different styles.
You were quite an inspiration. And I should mention that there is a Plein Air podcast with your entire story coming up. I don't think we released it yet, did we?
No.
I think it's coming up right away.
I think you did, because some people have listened to it.
Oh, okay. It must be out there then. I never know. Once I record them, it's up to my team to get them out there.
Yeah. So I will say, I mean, I'm a bit to the side of this because when I tried to use my phone, which would have allowed me to stand right in front of the painting as I worked, there was a lot of static. So I have to have this big computer sitting here, and it's blocking some of my view. But I will make corrections once I go off screen and I can stand right in front of the painting. So anyway, when I started painting, I realized I didn't know anything about color, because what I had done in my youth was mostly non-objective, and it was pastel and spray paint and stuff like that. After I did that very representational series, and it was monochromatic. So for me, I really realized when I went out to paint plein air that I didn't know anything about color. And that's when I picked up the palette knife. And I just never put it down, because part of the joy of painting with a knife is that mixing colors. Mixing colors is a lot of fun. I sometimes, I'll come up with a color that I've mixed on my way to working a color that I intended to mix, and realize, oh, what a pretty color. It's going to go on my painting, even if it's not in the scene. So giving up the palette knife, it's faster to paint with a brush. It is.
Yeah.
But give up the joy of mixing colors and the delight and surprises.
Well, one of the things you said in the interview in the podcast, which I've just posted the link to, it is out, is that you can get so much more intensity of color with a palette knife than you can with a brush.
Right, because you're not blending. The minute you blend two colors, you're dulling them down. It dulls down the initial color. So if you want a vibrant color, I know when I started painting, there were all these rules that I heard. It's like, you can't paint with paint right out of a tube.
Can you tell what colors you're using? Somebody's asking about your palette.
Yes. Right now, actually, I can hold up my palette. It's a little one.
A little? Oh, it's little. I thought it'd be really big.
Well, because I can't get near my painting because of the computer.
Because of the phone. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, as you can see, the orange is dripping.
It's dripping.
It's dripping. So my general palette, and I think I have it on my website, called left to right, cobalt blue. I don't usually put ultramarine. If I go down to the beach, I would, the ocean. But the cobalt blue, because if you mix it with the purple dioxazine, you don't get a perfect ultramarine blue, but you do get a cooler blue. So cobalt blue, Prussian blue, purple dioxazine, alizarin permanent. I have a couple tubes. I have tubes of paint that friends gave me. This is basically a cad red light. I usually use cad red medium. Cad orange, cad yellow, and yellow light. This is a Hansa light. My favorite is lemon yellow, but I'm saving my favorite paints for when I go to events. I tried a lot of colors, and so I'm saving some of my favorites for things like that.
And would you quickly show your reference photo again for those who tuned in late?
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay. It's
Yep.
It's just a guideline. Is anybody going to say, whoa, that's not what that location was like? So when I go out plein air painting, I always put my orange red stain on first. But it takes, and outside it would have dried faster than it is in my house right now.
So it's blending a little bit.
So it's blending, but I can make use of the blends because that will be the background. The top layer will take care of anything I don't want. But,
what a compliment. Someone says, Donna says, this is like watching a stained glass window being created. That's a nice compliment.
It's interesting. A lot of people have said that, and someday maybe I'll actually make a stain or have a stained glass window made. I don't really like glass, which is part of the reason I won't really do pastels. And as I said, the watercolors, I could only do at a place that would allow me to varnish them.
Somebody said, so palette knife painters must be also good at putting icing on cakes.
I leave that to my daughter. I don't. I am like the least decorative person in my family. So it's really funny, but you would think, yeah, you'd think.
You would think, well, you could use palette knives as long as they were new. And I should mention you're about 10 minutes out from the end of this broadcast.
Well, that means I'll really get to paint it on my own. And I will put it on my website when it's complete.
Yeah. Also, if you'll put it in the comments of this broadcast.
Okay, I will
Thank
do
you.
that. Absolutely, because it will look really quite different. I wanted to be able to get to a point. I'm going to do something since I have so little time left. I had talked about this center tree. I created some of the grays going up. I put a little bit of light here. I want to show you how I will define the space. It's the issue of contrast, edges. That all of a sudden is going to create the tree having that dark edge. Now, in my painting, that's not dark. In the photo, I mean. So I'm just going to move that around. But it's the edges that will give the definition. Okay, can people see that? Well,
yes, of course.
Okay, all right. So if you put light against dark, that's how you create the definition. My son, Ian Marion, is a beautiful painter, much more Hudson River than I am. Does a whole series on clouds. But when he was younger, he did a tree and he said, "Why is my tree so stiff?" And it's basically because he had edged it so cleanly straight down that it couldn't breathe.
You got to break up those edges.
Correct. So here's some light edge coming against it. So that will define the tree. And if I bring some of that white down here, it doesn't need to go all the way down. But if I put a little bit of it down here and here, it helps follow the edge of the tree. I want this to get softer, which I will do when I do the final piece. I like to mix my own zinc and titanium white. Titanium's really strong. I keep flake white replacement for really, really strong whites. It's not a typical color I use, but I keep some on hand, like for summertime, or really, you really want to punch out some whites.
Hey, everybody, put in the comments where you're watching from. I'm curious if, because California is in lockdown, for instance, now, are more people at home. So put in the comments where you're watching from, like the state or where in the state. And also, where do you watch from? Do you watch from your home, your office, your bedroom, your, whatever? Just a little curious while you're watching Cynthia, just put that in there. That'd be great. We got higher than normal audiences today. Maybe it's just Cynthia. I'm just guessing it's Cynthia.
Well, I did send out some invites. I don't think it's me. I think I just send out invites, but then ran out of time. So, but anyway, that would be the tree. And I will finish it all the way up. Regretfully, I don't really have any tree paintings in my studio to show you, because they're all in the galleries.
Yeah, well, that's where they should be. And they actually shouldn't even be in the galleries. They should be in homes.
No, my best one actually is in a home.
All right.
But anyway, I will post this. I will work on it this afternoon. I'm putting together this ebook, and God, the technology. I hate technology. I mean, it's wonderful. I can't say I hate it. I'm just inept at it. But anyway, I'm putting this ebook together, which will be a gift, to anybody who's sort of expressed interest about major elements of art. So
is that available on your website now?
No, I have an image of like the front of it. But if people sign up onto the newsletter or something, when it is ready, I guarantee you it's not going to be ready till January, the way my ability to handle technology is going.
Okay.
But yeah, if you sign up or just send me an email from my website that you want it, it will be a gift from me to people. It's been such a hard year, at least for January, if not February as well.
All right. Terrific.
I've told people, I give these workshops through Lake Placid Center for the Arts, and I've told people there, but I probably have some people watching from that group as well.
Okay, terrific. Well, we're finding out. People are tuning in. We got Russia at home, New Zealand at home, Norway at home, another New Zealand, Hawaii, home in California, Arizona, Ohio. This is fun. Another Russia. Wow. Charlotte at home, Israel at home. Oh, this is fun. Yeah.
That's very cool.
Okay, Cynthia, you're gonna have to put the knife down.
Okay.
And come back on camera. I'm going to show you something I found. I went and found a couple of photos. Okay. So I went to the trouble of going through my photos while we were talking, so I missed a little tiny bit of your demo, but I found that moment. This is what I discovered in the woods that day. And there you are outside by the stream painting this giant painting. Here's a little closer one of you working on it.
Yeah.
That was a fun memory for me. And then, of course, in the bar at the Adirondack Publishers Invitational with John McDonald and it looks like Terrell Gable. She's always wearing her hat.
Definitely Terrell. Yeah. Honestly, all of my friends, almost all, I've started a plein air group in Vermont now. In fact, I got an email from somebody yesterday who probably heard about it on your podcast.
Oh, good.
She emailed me and said, hey, I'm in Vermont. I'd love to, is your group closed? Totally open. Anybody.
Where in Vermont are you?
Well, I'm in Southwest, but I've had people up further north. And I said, come the spring when we know the roads are clear, we'll schedule some places to meet in time to paint together. Because I'm really in the southwest part of the state. Charlie's an hour and a half away over in the eastern part.
Charlie Hunter. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think everybody should start a group, and everybody in Vermont area should go with Cynthia, go painting. That sounds like fun. We need groups in every state, every city. We're trying to figure out how to get that all organized. And so
great. Well, you did the Plein Air Air Force, but I had trouble with the technology part of it at one point. I signed up, but just because of your retreat, I need to tell people who are watching, if you haven't been to Eric's retreats, I always talk about them to everybody. And I've told umpteen people to go. It's where I've met my best painting friends from all over the country. So, thank you.
Me too. Me too. You and I met at Fall Color Week. You come to the Adirondacks. I've made some of my closest friends, and we've discovered a lot of really great painters because we're painting together every day. We bring our paintings in at night, and we kind of discovered you, Charlie Hunter.
I told Lon to come up. He came up a year or two ago. Lon Bauer,
yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we're doing stories on all these people and becoming friends. It's really terrific.
It is great.
Yeah.
So thank you for this, and I will post this maybe tonight or tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you again, Cynthia Rosen. Applause. Be sure to listen to the podcast. I posted a link in there, and also go to her website, cynthiarosen.com. And thank you, Cynthia. Appreciate you doing this. Thanks for being such a great friend.
Thank you.
All right. That's Cynthia Rosen. Visit her at cynthiarosen.com. Oh, man, that's so much fun. The best part about art is that we get to play. And when you get stuck, if you're working on something, I've been working on this one painting for 2 months now, a big 30 by 40, and I just got stuck and I started making mistakes and I just really screwed it up. But when you get stuck, just start playing. You can't be so in love with your painting that you're afraid to mess it up, because it's the messing up is where you're going to learn and grow. And so just try something new, do something new, get the palette knife out, try being radical. You're not going to hurt it. And if you do hurt it, so what? You're always going to learn something from that. So we're here every day. Every day. This is day number 266. We're going to have a big celebration coming up at day 300 again. And we'll be here. I think, I'll pop in even on Christmas Day, like I did Thanksgiving Day. It won't be a long one, but we'll pop in and we'll do something fun. And we just love being here with you guys. This is a great honor for me to be able to serve you. It's a great honor that you guys are on there. And I love it when you will do things like sharing. If you would just be so kind as to reach over and hit the share button right now, so people can see Cynthia, but also it helps us grow the audience. And if you're up for it, go over to YouTube. And we have a lot of audience on YouTube. We've got 60,500 subscribers last I checked a week ago. If you would go there, you're not only going to find all of the videos that we've done for 266 days, including art marketing, gallery visits, lots and lots of artist demos. You're also going to find the ones we do at 3 p.m. daily. Remember, 3 p.m. daily, every day at 3 p.m., we have tutorials on art that we've created. Today, Brushstrokes with Energy and Movement with Randall Sexton. That's at 3 p.m. You find that on YouTube or Facebook by searching Streamline Art. And that's where you're going to find these things. And so if you would go over there and hit the subscribe button. The other thing I would like, and there's actually no benefit for you, I'll just tell you up front, is the only benefit is for me. So if you would just follow me on Instagram, that would be terrific. I want to try to build my Instagram up because it's become more and more important. And the more people that I can reach, the more people that I can change. My goal has been, and I've announced this publicly a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, is to teach 1 million people how to paint. My belief is that painting changes the world. When we become artists, we see the world through different eyes. We're happier, we're more fulfilled. We might be frustrated because we're learning something all the time, but we're also challenged. And when you're challenged, you're happy. When you're doing what you love, you're happy. And when you're happy, everything else changes. And so my goal is teach more people to paint. And whenever somebody walks up to me, I remember I was in the square in Santa Fe painting back pre-COVID, right? Somebody would walk up and the kids would walk up. I remember a kid with his parents walked up and he said, "Can I do that?" And I said, "Sure." And so I looked at the parents for approval, and I took the kid and I took his paintbrush, or my paintbrush, and I showed him how to put it in the palette and then how to make a stroke. And I said, "Now here's the brush, you do it." And then that kid did it. And I said, "Do it again." And they're like, "Oh, he might mess up your painting." I said, you can't mess up a painting. Yeah, I can always fix it. And so, but then the kid got excited. I said, "Listen, buy the kids some art lessons, or get some, get some acrylic paints, or get something, watercolors, something, and get them started when they're enthusiastic." We want to encourage more and more people. A lot of us, myself included, as adults, we painted maybe when we were kids with our parents or in school or something, but we've always wanted to do it, but we've told ourselves it's not possible. I can't do it. I don't have talent. That's not true. Anybody can do this. You can do this, and all you have to do is learn a system. That's why I've got Watercolor Live. You're going to learn systems. You're going to learn how each of the top watercolor artists in the world are teaching painting. You learn a system. You don't have to have talent. Talent comes with practice. Talent comes from, constantly drawing, constantly painting, and that's where you're going to get it. And so if you're watching this and you're encouraged, go visit the websites of these artists and take their Zoom workshops, or if they have other workshops, or if they have videos, or we have videos. Do something. And especially if you're in lockdown, make good use of this time. We can only eat so much bread. We can only bake so many cookies. And if we're stuck inside, we can be learning and growing, and that's what this time is meant for. Take advantage of it. All right. Well, thanks for watching today. I'm Eric Rhoads, publisher of Fine Art Connoisseur and Plein Air Magazine and Streamline Art. We're getting ready for the holidays. It's crazy. And of course, a lot of us are going back into lockdown. We were talking about that last night, kind of trying to get prepared for it just in case it happens here, get our shopping done and so on. So I wish you well, and you guys have a terrific day, and we'll see you tomorrow at 12 noon here on Facebook.